Маркони. 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 Маркони.
Yeah, God damn it, man.
Testing. All right, so we're here. We're live. Once again, we're live on Facebook. We're not going to be live on YouTube this week. We're going to be live on Facebook. So thank you all for attending. This is our weekly meeting where we do our community studies and we talk about estates and trusts. So this meeting, if you're first to this meeting, if this is your multiple times coming to these meetings, if you're coming, we're always going to discuss estates and trusts. So we want everybody to be prepared to take careful note as well as understand how to apply most of the methods and techniques that we are all studying together at one time and giving out results. So we don't want anybody to get out here and give theories. We want to show only results. So I'm only able to give you what I've accomplished so far. I'm not able to give you anything that I have not accomplished. So we're just want to share first going into who I am. My name is Wallace Lewis Temple Jr. Some may call me Ra or Raak. If you feel comfortable just calling me Temple, just call me Temple, whichever one. I'm one of the instructors here at University Technicians. I work for University Technicians, so that means anything that you all get and receive is coming in benefit of University Technicians, as well as anyone who is a member of University Technicians, you are automatically considered a beneficiary. So we're working on getting everybody access to funding as we go, but we understand that talking about money or talking about cash or funding is very difficult because we never learned about cash. We never learned about money in school. As you know, we learned how to do addition and subtraction, but we never actually talked about how to use the money when we get out of school. As we know, that is not a topic that is easily able to speak on about what people have in their pockets, right? So we know that we've been told to stop pocket watching, stop, you know, speaking about your credit, all these things, but these have been counter to us actually working on which we understand a trust, because a trust is designed for you to distribute funds. It's designed for you to be transparent and to let everybody know what's going on. So we're going to learn about this um, as we go, but we want everyone to get started off with introducing yourselves. If you're new to the call, feel free to introduce yourself and your stage of where you are. If you're a person who's been around for the last few years or at least a year or more, we like you to introduce yourself as well and to share some of your accomplishments you've done since you've executed your revocable trust. So we want everybody to share your thoughts, share where you are, exactly where you're dealing with. So if you have problems, share those problems that you're dealing with the trust. If you have accomplishments, also share those accomplishments. But I'll go first. I'll show you my problems. I'm going to tell you my problems first that I'm having with the trust. One of my main problems I was running into with the trust was not getting the treasury checks. One of the problems I kept running into with my trust is dealing with the court system. So I understood that the court system is very meticulously designed to make sure that you give them jurisdiction. So I learned that there were certain things that I had done in the past that I didn't realize that I was giving over jurisdiction. So I was having some problems with communicating my trust to which they call the officers of the court, such as the judge, you got the clerks, you got even these attorneys. So everybody, if you didn't know today, I'm going to tell you, I've been told this by attorneys themselves. We even have attorneys in our network. If you all don't know this, we actually have attorneys in our network. So they tell us this all the time, is that attorneys cannot help you with your trust, especially if it's a living revocable trust. So an attorney cannot help you because they are considered to be a officer, or we're going to say they're there to benefit the court, meaning that an attorney or a person who's called a lawyer, they always have an allegiance to the court. So we're going to go over these things today to show why you're not able to just get out here and just go ask a whole bunch of people how to set up your trust, what do you do, how to do it. We need everyone to understand or know how to walk through this process on their own. It's like walking your own yellow brick road. We're going to talk about that a little bit, getting into some mystery, and we'll also get into biblical principles today. I'll try to explain why one has to understand the Bible as well, because the Bible is an estate and trust book. that allows you to take power back from even they'll say entities. We'll talk about entities that are in the Bible that we don't understand. That even in the Bible they talked about entities. So I wanted to try to break this down as best as I can with multiple layers that I've faced, and I know that we will all face as well. You have to be strong. You have to be courageous. There is no way around having courage, I'll say. But I'll yield for now just to kind of give everybody else a chance to introduce themselves or share a little bit about your testimony of what you want to speak on at this time. Thank you.
How you doing? Uh, my name's Raymond Allen, and I've been working with Wallace for the last few years, getting some help with the trust and executing it. And I've been successful in different areas, and I've been having some outside challenges also in different aspects, but I continue to move forward, and it's continuing to work out slowly but surely. Um, I definitely see it, and I believe in it, and I see that it's a real thing as far as filling out your tax forms, putting your debt on the Schedule C, specifically in my scenario, and stop getting those bills and invoices. Um, Today, right now, real quick, Wallace, I wanted to ask a question about what is that email letter supposed to say? I got a pen and paper to write it down as far as allowing the state attorney to update or sending it out. Two questions. One, can I walk it into the state attorney's office and hand it to them? Um, and either handing it to them or mailing it, what is that letter supposed to say specifically so I can write it down, please?
Okay, great. So that's your question is that you wanted to start off with the question is what are you supposed to write to the offices that you're saying you're taking over? Is that what you're saying? That you're specifically speaking of the letter, because there's multiple letters. We got cover letters to the court case, you got a cover letter to the recorder, then you got the letter that goes to the three entities that I believe Brother Vince was able to tell or speak on last week, which we talked
That
about that.
that right there. But I've already successfully updated with the county clerk. I have a booking page number. I've successfully updated with the Social Security office to have the trust on record on my Social Security card. So the last out of the three, it needs to be the state attorney's office.
What about the Internal Revenue Service, the Treasury? Did you get it over to
Nope,
the
nope,
Treasury?
nope, nope, nope. Okay, hold on. Let me write that down. The treasury.
Because it seemed like you named two of them, but I didn't understand the second one. When you say the state attorney in Florida, you have to go through the attorney general. The attorney general is the highest
Attorney
officer.
general. My bad, my bad.
There
Okay,
you go.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. They kind of trick us with that state attorney's office, the criminal attorneys, right? So we'll
Mm,
get into that later as people are learning about this criminal law, because everybody's a criminal until you presume to no longer say that you are, right? Which we're going to talk about that too as well, where we're taking over the name. There's multiple layers that I know Brother Vince, he came in and he gave us some bombshells. As he said, it was a 20-minute workout. But as you know, in that 20-minute workout, it's not as simple to get that county record or that certified copy of that county record that we're learning, because you're going to have some pushback. These people are
right.
gatekeepers, right? As you said, you
Mhm.
got yours on the county record. Can you explain a little bit, since you're volunteering, that because people are having problems with that county? How did you do it? What type of method or strategy that you use, and was it great the first time you did it, or did you have some problems?
The method is consistency and persistence. Um, you know, being able to call and check in with you heading in there. The first couple of times I went in, they just acting oblivious. Just walking in, didn't talk to you first, Wallace, and just using words. People taking it personal, people telling me I don't know what I'm talking about, and we don't do this stuff here. I think like the third time or maybe the fourth time, I just refused to leave. And each person, one by one, I didn't take it personal because that's the main advice you gave me when I was going in that last time. And I asked the lady to, put this on the record. I want to record this book and page number. She told me she couldn't do it. I just simply asked for her manager. She started taking it personal because she didn't want to get the manager, but I let her get all her little frustration out and told her I'm patiently waiting for the manager. Her manager came, manager didn't know what was going on, and she didn't recognize the work and then tried to get me out of there. They tried to rush me out. Just politely asked for her manager. Then her manager came and politely asked for her manager when she didn't realize she didn't know what she was talking about. And then they finally got the lawyer that was in the back. And the lawyer came out and reviewed the documents and explained to all of them that I was correct and that I have the right to record it and they need to go ahead and record it and put it on a book and page number.
Wow, interesting. So you had to have some courage. It seems that it wasn't just simple. Just I got some documents.
Right.
I need you to do this for me. Please do this for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It was more like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in charge of this account. I need you
Mm-hmm.
to go talk to your boss.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately, I don't need to talk to you. I need to talk to the boss. Pretty much sounds
Mm-hmm.
like you were, that's a good strategy. So maybe the strategy is when you first get there, just ask for the manager, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
ask for the manager, ask for the supervisor, ask for the attorney, whoever it is that's in charge, because some of us are getting pushback by some gatekeepers, by people who are gatekeeping,
Yep.
because that's their job, right? If
Mm-hmm.
they're at the gate, you can't get past them. You got to kind of maneuver them. So I thank you for that. That was a good emphasis on what was going on with talking to him. So you said it was like 3 times. So this would be like your third time you had went in, and
Mm-hmm.
third time's a charm. Seems like.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, when you said you had to do a cover letter, I mean, just explain this. What is it that you had in your hand that allowed you to go and make sure the county recorder, you know, was able to do this? What doc did you have?
I actually didn't have a letter. I just had the revocable trust. I had a copy, the official copy that I paid for, and yeah, I gave it straight to him. And the same thing with the Social Security office. I made an appointment, went in, waited patiently for my number, and they did the same thing, telling me they can't do it, asking me why I want it. As soon as they asked me why did I want it, they messed up, telling me that I can't. That means I can, and y'all just don't want me to put it on there. So I did the same thing as far as just was patient, kept asking for managers, and then they teamed up, and then they finally said, "All right, we just go. You just want it recorded on there, right?" And I said, "Yes, that's what I've been asking for this whole time." And then they told me they're gonna record it on there, and they put it on there.
Right. Interesting.
Right.
So
I didn't actually have a letter yet.
got you. Got you. So you just went in with the trust by itself. The sounds like you had the certified copy. The
Yeah.
certified copy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow. So this worked where you got 2 out of the 3 entities, it seems like.
Yes. No, well, you said nah, I got one.
Yes, you're right.
Cause
You only got one of the entities because you
yes,
need you need the
the
county
attorney
record first.
no, I got a book and page number unless I'm confusing that with something else. Is that not the county record book and page number?
No, that's correct. But I mean, some people are still trying to get to that stage where they can even get it on a county record, right?
Okay.
So we were just trying to grasp that maneuver that you used, that you said that
Mhm.
that certified document you had in your hand. You had that physically in your hand
Yep.
like the same day, right? You couldn't like come with an old doc or something. You couldn't just jump straight up and just go straight and put it in on the county record. That's what it was.
Well, remember I went up there a couple of times, so as far as quote unquote same day, um, probably wasn't the same day, but once we established that I wasn't leaving that last time, they put it on there and they gave me my official book and page number. Yeah.
That's interesting. It's like you established that I'm not leaving until you make this happen. Basically, it
No,
seemed like
no,
you put your
literally.
foot down.
Yeah, yeah, no, they really was in their feelings, and they really was trying to kick me out after a while, and I just told them I'm not leaving, politely, respectfully, and they need to go ahead and call somebody for me so we could put this on the record because I already know that this is something you could do, and because you don't recognize it doesn't mean that I'm wrong. So just
Hmm.
I'm patiently waiting for your manager. Same
Hmm.
thing at the Social Security office. That's why I
There you
was
go.
asking you if I'm able to walk it in the Attorney General office because
Mm,
I don't have a problem walking it in and talking to these people.
interesting. Yeah, because we're in the capital, so like I say, I'm just going into just understanding from your perspective, your strategy, right? Because some of us are still trying to, get to this level. So thank you for that, man. I thank you. I want to answer your question about the cover letter that you would need to give to the state attorney. So you're saying you're on the state attorney and the attorney general side, so you got to write a cover letter for them. That's where that cover letter goes. And I think the way it was said is that um, the way Vince, I think a lot of us are breaking it down into like a sentence. So you don't even make a lot of words. It's maybe one or two sentences.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly how it goes, but some of us will just simply say, I am the trustee of the Living Revocable Trust. I have been appointed trustee of a Living Revocable Trust. Please govern yourself accordingly. Some people will just stop right there. Or if you want to go and emphasize what you're doing, feel free. This is creativity. We're not here to give you exact words, but we do have to start off a certain way where we say that you have to explain that you are now a trustee of a living revocable trust. This has to be, I guess, rehearsed in all of our minds, right? In that document that you said that you had in your hand.
Mm-hmm. And I think the next sentence, like you said, it's not exact, but something like please cease and desist or please stop all something.
Well, you can say, please update your records
Oh,
accordingly,
please. Okay, okay, okay. Mm-hmm.
because we're not fighting, like as we say. That's another thing. Don't go in thinking that you're fighting anybody. If you're thinking that you're fighting, then you're already losing because you can't fight them,
Yep.
right? So don't even think that if you're thinking this is gonna hardly get you anywhere with. And I'm just not talking to you, brother Raymond. I'm speaking on any of us, even myself,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
Just make sure that you're going in there with a glad mind and like we say, this is your position, so this
No,
is important.
listen, no, that was the best advice you gave me because it's frustrating. People thinking they have more authority than they do. They're just working for somebody. Like you don't know, or you're not the person in charge of putting this on record or not putting it on record. So yes, when they trying to kick me out or they have an attitude because I'm looking at them and I'm telling them no, you're incorrect and this is their job, but they're looking at me telling me they've never come across this before. They don't do this at this office. Yeah, that don't have nothing to do with me. So I'm gonna stay positive and just, stand on what I came in to do. So yes, I agree with that. That's the most important thing because once you start becoming belligerent or having an attitude, it's easier for them to dismiss you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Respectfully, respect.
Mhm.
We have to act as if we are now the attorney.
Yep.
We can't take it personal. I like how you use certain words. Don't take it personal, right?
Mhm.
Man, that's some good. So based on your steps, I can see, just to kind of go into that part of the testimonial, is the cover letter to the attorney general. So some of you all can come up and be creative with that. What will you say after that first sentence, I am the trustee of a revocable living trust. Please, or you can just say update records. You don't have to say please. Sometimes we may ask things too nicely. Sometimes make sure you say it the way the law will say it.
Hmm. And the other one you said was U.S. Treasury.
Correct. That is the ultimate one that you need to get the money. And that's what we'll talk about a little bit later because I know some of us are trying to jump to the cash or the check, and we'll talk about that a little later as you understand the taxes come in because you brought up some good points about the Schedule C, and we wanted to kind of build into that Schedule C because that by itself, I know a lot of people may think that's a light document, but that is a ultimately proof document. That seems to be your, which we're gonna call your profit and loss statement that they'll say that they need at the bank. So when you go to the bank is always asking you for these docs, right? That they need to fund your account. So the funding of the account, the docs that they always ask most of the time at the bank is a Schedule C. That's if you are on the business side of the bank. If you're not on the business side of the bank, you are always going to be asked for personal documents, right? And most of the time, that personal doc is your personal bank statements. They'll ask you for your bills and all these things, right? That's why I want to make sure we distinguish this whenever you're going to the bank with your taxes, because you want to go to the bank with your business taxes this time. You don't go to the bank with your personal taxes. So I hope that makes sense as we go into the tax aspect that you brought up too, Brother Raymond. You brought up the Schedule C.
Hmm.
What do you think about that? What helped you in understanding the Schedule C?
Being in the class and seeing that when you went on the IRS website that it said to put your debt on the Schedule C. Quite literally, yes, sir. And I just believed enough to say, you know what, I'm finna do it, and let's see what's going on because this is what the rules say. And I did it. I put it on there. It went through. When I say went through, like I received a tax refund. That's confirmation for me that it was processed properly. I've continued to request a summary. They never sent it to me, but for X amount of years, every month I've been receiving several invoices for student loans over the years. You know, exorbitant amounts of money. And once I did that, all those letters stopped. Even some minute things I put on there, those things stopped also. So I know it's real. I know it worked. I just need to put it all together.
Absolutely, exactly. Putting it all together is the hardest part that we all here to do. That's why it's a study group. So, does anybody else have any things, or do you have anything that you felt like that was answered, Raymond, about the steps that you're on right now? So you're saying that you need this letter to prepare yourself to go give it over to this third entity, or this I'm sorry, this first entity that you're working on.
You asking me, do I have another question about it?
Well, I mean, does that answer your question? I think that you
Yeah,
mentioned
yeah,
because you
yeah.
asked about the
That
letter.
answered the
Who you
question.
giving it to?
The only thing is, do I need to send that with a copy of a birth certificate and driver license?
Correct. Yeah, that's it. So remember, you're presuming all things that the state says that they own and have control over, right?
Mm,
Okay, so if your name is on that, then you have to take power over it because the whole point of the revocable living trust for all of us who are listening is so that you can take power back from the government that deals with your name,
right.
right? So that's going to go into our biblical principles a little later because your name is worth more than the silver and gold. We'll talk about those scripts, those books that you have, those books that we always try to look about. We think about something different when we think of books, but you got to think about your booking of your name. So I'm going to give you all some details to this, but yes, that is important. The way you're explaining it and the way we have to apply it to. Okay, sorry, I got two people I didn't get a chance to let in. Okay, we got it good. So to answer that question, did we answer it to the point where you are ready to go to that entity? Do you think you have the understanding to go to the Attorney General's office now, or to even send something to them?
Yes, I just need to structure my cover letter the right way and go ahead and pay for a copy, official copy from the clerk, and go ahead and put it in the mail.
Bingo. Correct. Now, can you all see my screen? I just want to make sure I'm getting right to that point. We left off on this last time about the responsible party. So we just want to do a recap on this responsible party. So we'll also get into give somebody else another chance to ask questions. So does anybody else have any thoughts, questions, or shares? We'll get into our main study discussion today around 6:45. So I want to give everybody a chance to get your questions out, get your parts where you're feeling like you need more understanding of, because we need, I guess, as many testimonials as possible. So has anybody else wanted to give any testimonial according to what Raymond has said that he's been able to do so far?
Well, I had a success this week. I went into the county recorder and recorded my revocable living trust, and it did take 3 times. The first time I went in, I did it on legal paper, and they didn't accept that. It has to be 8.5 by 11. And then the second time I went in, I had stuff on the back of it, just stuff basically saying no marks or anything like that, and they wouldn't accept it. And then the third time I went back, I had it at 2.5 or 4.5 inches down, 2.5 inches over. So they had that place up in the top right that they could do everything, and then they put it through. Originally, they weren't going to. Didn't know what it was, and actually, the woman said to me, "You can't record this because it's a public document. It's not, this revocable trust is not supposed to be public." And then I just looked at her and I said, "I require this to be lodged so that the court can see it." And she shifted everything and she moved forward, got the county recorder, and I had a conversation with him. So it was definitely the mind shift of knowing that all others are having a lot of success with this. So got that in and got certified copies. So I'm looking forward to sending that out to the IRS, Social Security Administration, and the Attorney General this week. So that's all I wanted to say. So thank you. This process is awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. We got another testimony from Trevor. So the way you're explaining is that you got it on the county record, right?
Yeah.
Got you. So the main point was to be able to get the certified copy, right? And then you're going to take it to these entities. Okay. So I just want to make sure we knew that if we all got to the county record, that is the main important part, firstly, for the trust. So for those who are here, the ultimate goal is to get it on the county record. And the second part is to make sure that you're able to communicate with the clerk, which we're going to understand that in a few too. Now, anyone else have any testimonials of the revocable living trust? What has worked out for you? What has not worked out for you? Right. So let's say what is something that you feel like you're not getting done, or I feel like maybe this isn't working out for me like I thought. So we want to be able to answer all these hard questions that some of us are still maybe pondering on. What is this living revocable trust? What does it do for me? How does it help me pay my bills? How does it get money? All these different questions can be answered as long as we understand the first part, which is the revocable living trust is a document and it's an instrument. That's what the government calls it. The government calls it your instrument, and you must have this document, which will say in your hand. And if you don't have
When
it in
you
your
look
hand,
it up,
oh, go
when you
ahead.
look it up, you have to look it up under instrument. If you go online to find your book and page number, you have to look it up under instrument.
Correct.
Mhm.
Exactly. So that's further proving that it's something that the government says is now your documents that you must abide by. So it's like your treaty or your agreement. Make sense?
I had a
Anybody?
question real quick, Wallace, real quick. Was I supposed to record the fee schedule also with it?
Not necessarily. You can record a fee schedule also attached under the trust, and you continue your booking. But at the same time, we have to break it down from the beginning. Is why do I have this living revocable trust? Why do I
Mhm.
have this document? Why do I have this instrument? Like, have we studied the document in and out? Have we read every line?
Mhm.
You see? We'll get into this because this is going to break down all the different things that the trust is going to do for you. And that's what Vince was talking about. You're giving these certified copies that comes from the county recorder, and then you're able to do business now. Does that make sense to anybody? Everybody have that main thing to feel comfortable, because if you don't have that, I guarantee you probably are not going to feel comfortable doing any of those steps that we're going to be talking about next. But Raymond, do you feel comfortable so far since you've had this on the county record? And we also see Trevor too. So both of you, if you all went tomorrow, because tomorrow's Monday, and you got a certified copy, do you feel that you'll feel comfortable to communicate now?
Absolutely.
100%. My confidence level. I mean, I've gotten pulled over multiple times, been in jail and purgatory, and been set up by my ex-wife. Like all this stuff, I feel not passing the court and the control test. It's another level of sovereignty, this inner spirit. I guess it's wild to feel this peace. So I'm looking forward to the next steps of actually getting it to those organizations, getting my 1040, 1041 Schedule C. I'm getting all of it from 2022 and 2023 and 2024. And it's when I got my EIN, actually, we had some issues for about 2 weeks on the website getting the EIN for the revocable living trust. But finally, last week, we were able to get that. And so it created this, oh, okay, now it's the right time. But I did have a question because it said that our taxes need to be filed by the 22nd of this month. So do we have time? I mean, with all the steps that are required, that was my only concern is I'm doing all this and it's the 9th right now. So we have a few days to complete the taxes. Do we have enough time?
Great. So let's get right into that. So your confidence level is there because you got it on the county record. And once you have it on the county record, this instrument that everybody has to have at some point, the instrument, right? Now you can do taxes. Right now you can do taxes, right? So let's look at that for a second. Let's see how does taxes look. So right here for the taxes, we're going to go right back to the same doc that we got for the EIN. So some of us may have already got the EIN or we're working on the EIN. All right, so the EIN assistant goes right into the revocable trust. This by itself, this EIN is taking power back from the state. This is taking power back from the IRS. This is taking power back from pretty much all of the entities. Because if you use this EIN, this is a revocable trust EIN. Right? It's totally different. So when you read what they tell you, they mean what they say, and they say what they mean on the IRS website. So when we study this right here, I've been studying this document for the last 3 to 5 years right now, and I'm still learning more. But I'm showing you both sides to the trust. Both sides of the trust are very important. All right, so you got your personal business, which is private. Personal business, that's where you see the personal business. You're taking care of your personal business, right? And then you have your private business, which is your trust or your estate. Do you all see this? Or does this tell you that you're doing both sides? Anybody can look into this document and decipher what it's telling you on this doc right here? That's listening on the call. Feel free, anybody that can shoot at this. Where do you see the personal business? And you also see the private business being handled that the IRS is telling you through the revocable trust.
Form 1040
Where
and
it says
Form 1041.
All All right, who we got that? We got first who said that. We got Journey. So go ahead and emphasize, and we got Andre. Looks like he's gonna explain something too next. So go ahead, Journey.
I was saying the U.S. individual income tax is the personal, and the Form 1041 is the trust. And so you'll fill them out together and send them in. And
Correct.
that's where I've gotten to so far. And along with I have a question about that. Do you fill out the 1040 and a Schedule C, or is the Schedule C a 1040?
Correct. So I'm glad you asked this question. So this answers exactly what's next. So when people say what's next, this is what's next. And Raymond went into his as well. He gave you all his testimonial. And he broke it down exactly what happened, right? So yes, the Schedule C goes with what? The 1040. All right. So for those who are new about the 1040 side, you still do the 1040, but it's now through the what? Revocable trust. So this goes right back where Brother Vince was saying. So we had the research what Vince was even saying, and he's right. He does say that you're able to file this 1040, but you have to file the 1040 correctly, which he's saying through the revocable trust. Anybody have any questions on this? Because the 1040 is part of the revocable trust.
Do you fill that out? So what I hear you saying is we fill out the 1040 with the revocable trust name?
No, 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 no.
Okay.
It's you. Yeah, remember we just went over it. Your
Okay.
personal business.
Do we write trustee on it then?
Uh-huh. Ah, there we go. So now your name, comma, trustee. That's what we're supposed to sign as. Every time you sign anything, you sign your name, comma, trustee. When they say print your name, always put trustee after your name. If they ask for a title, always put trustee for your title. Any questions on this? Because the 1040 side is something that we're losing. The personal business, that's your social security number. So the answer to the individual tax return is your social security number. If anybody is still pondering the answer to that. So you got to use a social security card to accomplish the 1040 side for the trust, for the revocable living trust.
I have another question. I have, so in 2022, I filed the 1040, but I didn't, when I go back to 2022 for the trust, do I just fill out the Schedule C with what was on the 1040 and send that in?
No, 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 no. You're saying it two ways. Your Schedule C is your personal business, right? Meaning all of your bills, all of your debts, all of your cases that are in your social, correct? So once you have this social side, this is pretty much all of your things that you're dealing with that's in your name. That's the social side. Everything that's in our name. The trust side, once we say the revocable living trust, is the second part they gave us, is Form 1041. This is where we're filing both forms. You're filing the 1040 and you're also filing the 1041. Right, so this is for all us listening right now. We're going to make sure that we're going into both forms and you're doing it every year. So that means you have to go back every year that you didn't do it, and you have to do the year that we're in now. So for those who are starting, you start in 2025 and you begin to file 1040, and you also file the 1041 for 2025. As you say, this is what we were saying, this is going to update you in their system. The IRS is going to see you in their system updated on the 1040 side, and they're going to see you updated on the 1041 side. Any questions on this part right here? So that goes next to the revocable trust. So I want to say, what's the next step? The next step is I have the document, I got the certified copies, I turned them in, I gave due notice. What's next? Next is filing your taxes. All right, any questions on this part? Then we're going to get to what the EIN does and how the EIN is filing taxes.
Yeah, this is Andre. So the 1040 is the sole proprietor.
Yes, there you go. Thank you. That's a great way of seeing that too, Brother Andre. It's a sole prop. You got to see yourself as a sole prop. Just for those who are new to the sole prop.
So
Go
an
ahead, Trevor.
individual, on the individual side, if someone put their taxes in 2022 and didn't have their sole proprietor set up, and they simply did their 1040, would they then be required to go back and amend their 1040 in order to submit that, or how would that look if they've already done that on the personal side but not having a sole proprietor and doing a Schedule C?
That's the thing. You don't feel that you can do it until you have the revocable trust, right? So that's why you're updating the record for the revocable trust. And you're
So
going
do
to
you just
start in a
submit
year.
everything? Do you just start so you're doing 2022 now that we have the revocable living trust? Do we simply supply the 1040 and this again with a Schedule C and then the 1041 as well? I just want to make sure because if somebody, I was talking to somebody the other day who has filed their 2022 taxes and they were asking me, well, would I amend my taxes, or I wasn't sure what to tell them.
That's a great question. So that's why we're here to break it down with the trust. So the friend has to have the revocable living trust in their hand first. And once they have the revocable living trust, now the revocable trust gets the 1040, Form 1040, and then also Form 1041. So you'll be filing the taxes for the social, all the bills, debts, and expenses for the social. Then you'll also be filing the bills, debts, and expenses for the 1041. So that'll be the name of your business. And the name of your business, as we say, some of us do the new name of the revocable living trust. If it's your same name, let's say you use your same name, so you'll have a 1040 for your social, but it'll be a sole proprietor. And you'll have a 1041 for your revocable living trust. It'll be your name that's on your social security card, revocable living trust. Those actual words have to be written in the name of the trust on the EIN document, right? So that will activate the other side of the trust. So we're saying the IRS is seeing this from their system only when we do these forms. So if we're new to this, this is a very important part that we may miss and we may try to override even if you do the 1099. So I'm not saying the 1099 standalone can get you past this part. We all learned that the 1099s are later. Go ahead, Raymond. Okay, I can't hear anything. All right, no problem. Okay, so yeah, the 1099s are later. We're going to talk about how you're going to be able to do the 1099s in just a few. So we're here on this part right here. So one says, what's my next step? Any questions on so far what your next step is on the EIN side? So this is next once you've got the trust instrument, it's certified copy on the recorder, and you now feel comfortable, you have the confidence and the courage, and now next you're going to get the EIN, right? The EIN. So any questions on the EIN of the revocable trust so far? Anybody that's here? Or feel free to share your testimonial of you having the EIN already. Maybe some of us already have that EIN and we're still running into the steps of what we need to do next when we already have this. So some of us may have already got the EIN of the revocable trust. So the question will be, what do I do next with this EIN that I have in my hand that the IRS gave me to give as a understanding or identity for the trust? So feel free. Anybody else want to answer to that? And we're going to move to our next step.
I got my EIN and I just went online and applied for it, and I got it that same day that I applied for it. It was really quick and easy that day, but prior to that, I was running into some troubles with their system not being up and running. It just wasn't working, but I tried about 2 or 3 times, but I finally was able to just get online and get it the same day.
Correct. But now, some of us may have already got the EIN, but we're saying, what do you do now? What's the next step? What would you do next now that you have the EIN in your hand? Anybody that's here want to shoot at that, and I'll get into our next step in just a few.
Start doing my taxes for 2022, 23, and 24. That's what I do.
All right, sounds good. It's kind of vague a little bit. We kind of know we have to do the taxes, right? But what exactly are you doing for the taxes? What are you doing now? We'll get into what anybody I want to shoot at this. What are you going to do next? You got the trust. We got the trust. The state it recognizes you as, hey, you are the trustee. And now you can go ahead and file your taxes. You can file the returns. What do you do next if you have to file the returns? Anybody want to shoot at the next software that we use some of the times? I think we talk about this a lot.
It's the freetaxact.com.
Free
Close.
Tax USA.
Well, Free Tax USA, there we go.
There you go. Yeah, that's one of them. So Free Tax USA is one of them. But specifically, I'm looking for the ones that are going to deal with all of your bills all year, all the time. So we're going to be filing those forms.
The
We just said it earlier.
1099.com.
All right, we got Blue Nova on the. Oh, you said Raymond, go ahead. Go, but Blue Nova had got on the mic too. What were you going to say?
99.com.
Okay, that's it. That's it. 1099.com. Anybody got another site that we use? What's another site we use? I know there's 1099online.com, but what's another one that we use specifically?
Taxact.com. Taxact.com.
No, not tax app. That's the 1041. We know that's the tax app, but what's next after we know about Free Tax USA for the 1040? So for those who wanted to know that answer for this, so you're going to use Free Tax USA for 1040, and then for 1041, you're going to use taxact.com. All right. But what's next for the EIN? What website or which way am I going to keep track of all those bills and those records? What am I going to use next?
Is it tax1099.com?
That's it. That's it. Somebody said it. Tax1099.com. There you go. Anybody doesn't know that answer right here? Anybody know about tax1099.com? That's on the call. Feel free to type it in the chat or just, raise your hand whichever way, because we want to make sure you all have full knowledge of what you're going to do next, because you have the EIN in your hand. You have to do something with the EIN. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Perfect. All right. So going into that next step right here is going to be on, like, I'll go to the website for y'all in real time. Tax1099.com. Okay, so this is going to be your site that you're going to be utilizing for tax forms. As you can see, filing your taxes. That somebody said earlier, that was the answer, but we needed you to be more detailed to your answer. So we need you to show your work a little bit more. So by showing your work, this is what we're saying. This is giving that due notice that we were learning that was mentioned last week. A gentleman gives notice. So that goes right back to where we say the B. Those who want to see where you get the 1099B from. Well, look right here. This is where we get the 1099B from. Right? If it doesn't go through, the system will tell us. The system will say, hey, you did that 1099B wrong. You need to do that 1099B again. This is why we go through the system this way. We don't want you all to fill out the 1099Bs, getting them from the IRS, sending them in with all these different ways that may possibly cause an error, right? So it may be an error, but if we use the online methods, this will help us out even better. So any questions so far on the next step that you're going to be doing with your EIN?
I got a question. Can you
Go
hear
ahead,
me?
Bruno.
Is your trust bank account open at this time? Yes or no?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked that question. The short answer is no. No, the bank doesn't have to be open yet. Just for those who are new to this, let's say you just only started with the EIN. You do not have to have the bank yet. All right, so you don't have to have the bank. And you qualify to do the EINs. I'm sorry, the not the EINs, you already said that. The 1099s.
The 1099s, right.
That's it, right? So we're gonna file the 1099B. That's where it's getting into that right here, where we get the answers to what's gonna happen next. You're gonna file the 1099B on the court case. You're gonna file the 1099B on the utility bill. You're gonna file the 1099B on all the billers, right? We say the billers. This is the easiest way to remember this, just for those who are new to the 1099B. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts about the 1099B?
Looking forward to seeing where we get the information or where that information goes in the 1099B, because if we don't know their EIN, that's the information I'm looking for. That's how to do that.
Great. So yeah, even in the software, it doesn't require you to have the EIN. We found the IRS only wants you to have the address, the correct address of the entity that you're going to do business with. So I'm going to get into that a little bit. I'm glad you helped me with that answer, and I'll get into my example in just a few. But I wanted to make sure that we understood that you're dealing with entities. So I wanted to get into that word today to kind of help you all in real time. I want you to type into your search bar entities. Entities. And I want you to realize that you are now communicating with what? An entity. I want you to realize this is something that the IRS sees, that something that's going on every time you do business. This is for all of your billers and things of that sort. So we read this, for example, right here. It says a entity is something that exists as itself. It does not need to be of material existence. In particular, abstractions and legal fictions. Look at this right here. In particular, abstractions, and legal fictions are usually regarded as entities. Look at this. So they're going right into your answers right on the internet. So you see the legal fictions is going to go right into where you're doing business with all these billers. And your next step, if you're going to say that I'm going to get this 1099B for some that mentioned the EIN. So let's go to that. You go to the irs.gov.
He's thinking what it could look like to other people. Maybe that's not what the market said. What y'all think?
And can we mute out for a second, Blue Nova? I see it's a background noise. Thank you, sir. All right, so right here, we're going to see the W-9 is your next answer that you want to be able to get to if you need to get more information from an entity. But you also want to learn how to fill out your own W-9. So I always tell people to practice this W-9, even for yourself. So this is what you'll need to get in communication with the entity that we'll speak on in just a few. So any questions or thoughts about the communication with entities? This is the only way the IRS is expecting you to talk or communicate with entities. You're going to request a W-9 as well as give them your W-9. Right? So this is important that you also have a W-9 filled out for yourself as you begin to communicate as this trust as well as this individual sole proprietor. But we actually only select trust most of the time. We select only the trust whenever we communicate. All right, so any questions or thoughts on the W-9? Has also an answer that you're going to use next if you're going to deal with taxes. So you got your W-9, and next you have your 1099-B.
Who do we generally send that to in order to get that information back and to provide our W-9?
It'll be your biller. Anyone that's asking you for money.
And it just goes to their standard address that they put on their mailing?
Correct.
Thank
That's
you.
it. That's it. So we have to keep it easy. We got to keep it simple. And when you do this, this is going to give them notice that you have the entity in business. All right. So that goes to the W-9. You got your EINs. and all your information should be written on this document correctly. This is also your certification. We also went in to learn that the certification can go as far as tax exemption, we're going to say, or non-taxable. But we'll get into that later, how the W-9 is utilized for you giving it out as well. All right, so I went to my example earlier. I showed you all where you're going to file the 1040 and the 1041. You also have to file the 1099-B. And before you can file the 1099-B, some of us will say, well, I don't have the EIN. I don't have the right address. Well, you can always request the Form W-9. I like to just use the name on the bill. So the tear-off coupon that everybody talks about, I try to use just exactly that. And I just send back the 1099-B by itself. For example, let's go to an example of a 1099-B right here on the IRS website for free. So you go to 1099-B. And you can fill this second one out if you want to get practice with it and send it to the entity. It's just as working the way that the software does it. But if you send it to the entity through the mail or through email or through fax, you also need to use the software. We always say you still need to do the software anyway. So just for those who are starting off and you want to feel comfortable, you want to learn how to do this, just work on just these two boxes, box 1D and 1E. You can also work on that box too. So you'll be working on understanding box 1D. Let me scroll in for you. Make sure you understand box 1D as well as box 1E. Those are your main boxes to understand first, because you'll be sending a regular 1099-B first, and then you'll be able to go back and collect credits upon your communication with them while doing your taxes. So any questions on these simple forms that you'll be filling out? Of course, leave all this blank. Don't fill it out if you don't know what to take. Don't type in short gains or loss. Just leave the form as is, right? Just focus on box 1D and 1E. Also 1B and 1C. That'll be a box that you can focus on. You start off with the day. We always say start off in January. So for those who want to say, where do I start off with that biller? Start off on January 1st, 2025. All right, because that's the year you're in right now. So focus on the year you're at. The date sold is going to be December 31st. Just for those who need to know that answer, December 31st, 2025. That's the date that everything ends. Everything is sold. So your 1B, 1C, proceeds is 0. Let's say my cost basis is 0. I'm just giving you a placeholder for your numbers. But everything else, you all should be able to figure this out. So you got to be creative. I'm giving you some basic things to work on when you're filling out this 1099-B. So just focus on how that'll look when you send it over to the biller. Any questions or thoughts about the 1099-Bs, y'all?
Yeah, so let's say we got a T-Mobile bill at $200 a month. Would we put $2,400 on that?
All right, so the 1099-B is used for the exact amount for the whole year, right? You see I put the date acquired. So you got to start off from the date that you started the bill and the date that you end, right? How much is the whole bill for the whole year?
Yeah, that'd be $2,400, right?
All right, there you go. So that's what, those are your numbers, right? So whatever numbers that match you is where we're getting our numbers from. So when people say, where are you getting these numbers from? This is where the numbers are coming from. You have to create the numbers. Any questions on this? Anybody else have any thoughts to the 1099-B and what you're filling out for? If you say that you're communicating with each of your billers, these are your billers that you have to communicate with.
So would 1D and 1E both be $2,400?
That'll be something that you can answer within your own way of looking at that.
Okay.
Now, it depends on your situation. That's why we have 0 there.
Okay, I guess I'm just confused. I've never filled any one of these out before. So if my bill was 200 and annualized, that's $2,400. I guess I don't understand what proceeds are and costs.
Proceeds means that you actually paid out the funds. You actually paid it out.
Okay.
It means you actually had the cash in your hand and you totally paid out the bill. That's a proceed. Or you use a debit card or a credit card and it paid the bill off and it says bill paid. That's what proceeds mean. Anybody got questions on that proceeds? All right, so the cost basis, what a cost basis means you didn't pay it all, right? Whatever you didn't pay. Some of us didn't pay the bill at all. Any questions on the cost basis? The cost of the other basis, that's what it says here on 1E. All right, so that's all we have for the 1099B. It's not a hard form as long as you focus on it and you study it for yourself. It's not something that you can go around and try to ask questions about. You got to focus on just filling this out yourself as if this is your bill and you're communicating with your biller. Right? So these are your billers. We'll talk about this in the book as well. I'll talk about how it's your name. And like I say, we get into the biblical principles again because your name is more than silver and gold. So let's go to some of our biblical principles where it says the name is worth more than silver and gold. Let's say biblical principle. Let's see what that's found. Now look at that. Look how the answer comes right in. Look at this. So we're seeing that this is important, that you're communicating to these entities that we just spoke of with your name. Now, when you use your name has to be cleaned up. Your name has to be no longer used in vain anymore because you are now communicating with each of these entities. You're actually telling them, hey, I'm in a revocable living trust and I'm keeping my name, focused on making sure my name is not used the wrong way. So Proverbs 22:1 gives you more biblical principles where this is coming from, where you're no longer focusing on the cash or the Federal Reserve notes. You're actually focusing on the name. See, the name right here says the name is worth more than silver and gold. The biblical principle that a good name is worth more than silver. Let me read through this. The biblical principle that a good name is worth more than silver and gold is encapsulated in Proverbs 22:1. This verse emphasizes that a good name represents one's character and integrity, which are more enduring and impactful than material wealth. It suggests that having a good reputation and being favored by others are far more valuable than having great riches. The verse challenges us to prioritize our character and reputation over financial gain, as it reflects our true worth and the legacy we leave behind. Wow. So this is living revocable trust all over it right here. This writes living revocable trust all over it. Look at this. A good name is more desired than great wealth. Favor is better than silver or gold. Any questions or thoughts on this biblical principle? This may be a profound understanding from the biblical too. Go ahead, brother. Absolutely. I heard somebody say praise Yah, praise the Lord. Yeah, that's right. Look at our name. Our name is very important. So 22:1 is helping you see where you put your name right here. As we say, we put in the name as the payer. When someone says, I got to pay the debt. Well, this is the payment right here. You have to begin to believe that you can pay the debt.
I have a question.
Go ahead. We're listening.
So before filing the 1099B, do we need to send the 1099Cs to cancel out any debt first?
Mm-hmm. Let's close out. Thank you, brother. Yeah, so there's no cancellation as we say, when you're on the living trust side, right? Our goal is to pay the debt. You see, your goal is to be the payer. Does that make sense? Because the other one is going to put you as the debtor or as the creditor. Any questions on the difference of the forms? That'll be a 1099-C. So we don't do the 1099-C. We focus on the 1099-B.
Okay, I just asked because I was watching a video of yours earlier and you were talking about the 1099-Cs and canceling out the debt on the individual side first before moving in, operating in the trust side.
Correct. So that's your Schedule C. Remember, we went over that earlier, so that encapsulates your Schedule C. We'll get into that later because that's getting into the forms that focus on the individual side, which we'll say the A and the C is the individual side. The B is the business side. Does that make sense? Anybody wants to kind of have some things to remember? You want to use the 1099-B for the business side. If you're using the individual side, then you'll focus on using the 1099-A and the 1099-C, which are different calls. We won't be talking about that today. Okay, so that's the payer. Anybody wants to understand how you're able to pay the debt? So you become the payer of the debt or the payer of the bill. We're going to say you're payer of the bill. All right, so let's close out from the 1099-B. This is your next step. So any other questions on the next step? We're going to get to your next step after this. Okay, so once you've done that, you see the name is very important. From the biblical principles, we see the entities that you'll be communicating with. These entities are to be these legal fictions. That can be the government. That can be anyone that you can deal with. And I'm going to give you all a good example of one that I dealt with, and it does work against them. And you're going to have the confidence to do this too, because if I did it, you all can do it too. There's entities that we have dealt with in my family household, as well as friends and partners in business. We've already dealt with a lot of entities already. So we understand how to communicate that correctly and how to make sure that it's done a certain way. So I wanted to get into that as an example of where you're starting at when you're communicating that revocable living trust. You'll be communicating those documents. You'll be communicating those taxes as well, which we'll speak on in just a moment. So this is my example right here, which I wanted to give you all just that 1099, how it looks on my side and how it looked for me, because I didn't have the money for this situation, right? So this goes right into my example once it spit out all the answers that I needed for year 2020 for my 1099-B. So in my situation, the Noble Private Lender dealt with this entity that was a biller, and they wanted this amount of money or cash or payment for a debt, right? Or whatever that is, right? And the recipient in this situation was who? The Department of Treasury, the Internal Revenue Service. So this worked even for the bill statement for the Internal Revenue Service, because you have to communicate even to them. So if they send a bill, they ask you for money, it's a test. They want to see if you understand how to pay the debt. So this is my example, just giving you all how this looked for an example where I didn't have the money, the cost or other basis. The cost was this amount, so I didn't have the cash. And the proceeds that had to come out was this amount. So I used the top for the expenses, and the same amount for the expenses also matches the income. So it's the same thing as the Schedule C. For those who know the principle of the Schedule C, you will also know the principle of the 1099-B. Just for those who have been studying these forms for the last 4 years, 2 years, or the last 5 years. Like you can see, this one was back in 2020 when I was dealing with this, and this in some form has went away. But it's still, there are mistakes that they're not fixing because I had already won. So I have to figure out a way to get them to erase all these mistakes that they've made on the account. So any questions on how a 1099-B will look in the situation if they were filling out one and the software filled out one for them?
I have a question. If we're filling this out, I see you're doing it for the revocable living trust. Do we also do this for the sole proprietor?
That is correct. Whoever the biller is. See, my situation, this is my revocable living trust. They sent a bill to the revocable living trust. Right? They say it was a frivolous filing. So we actually did a frivolous filing response to the amount through the same notices that we show that we're a revocable living trust. So yes, this is the same thing for the Treasury. You will do the same exact communication for the state attorney's office, or I'm sorry, the attorney general's office. You'll do the same communication with the county that you're doing business with your court case. So this is where your 1099-Bs are coming in. Any questions on this 1099-Bs? All right, so y'all got the fullness of this. So don't say that you don't understand until you study this. You have to know what you're doing as you're doing it. I'm just giving you only my example. This doesn't work for your example because the dates are going to be different. The proceeds are going to have different numbers, right?
It's just to get my feet wet in this. Like a T-Mobile example, it's $200. It comes to the sole proprietor's name. I'm not going to use the revocable living trust. I'm going to keep it as is and communicate with them as a sole proprietor. Is that correct?
Yeah, let's go into sole proprietor for a second. I'm glad you asked that question about sole prop. So you'll find out that a sole proprietor is an unincorporated business that is owned by one individual. That's going to be your Schedule C. So every bill that you have has to go through your Schedule C. We like to say just use your bank. So if you just do the bills for the bank and just pay everything with your debit card or a secured credit card, it's a lot easier to work through your sole prop. So that's in our banking course that we help people walk through our banking course. So any questions on what you think is the sole prop? Because we want to make sure we do the way the IRS helps us to understand this sole prop as well. Sole proprietor is probably one of the hardest things that we're seeing so far to use with the Social Security card. So you have to use a Social Security card with the sole proprietorship. Does anybody have any success so far that's on the call that would like to share some of their success of using their Social Security card to deal with the sole proprietorship in some form?
I was able to open up my sole prop bank account with my social.
Okay, that's wonderful. That's something that people may not be privy to. They don't know they can open up a sole prop account with their social. Can you explain how that worked for you? Did that work the first time? Or how many times did you feel that you had to deal with that sole proprietorship in your social security card?
No, I actually had to go in maybe 3 or 4 times, but eventually um I was able to get them to do it. They were asking me at first. They were asking me for like a lease, um, or some type of bill that was in um the sole prop's name, and I kept telling them that I don't pay bills, or you know the trust pays the bills, so I don't have any bills in that name. And then I eventually got to, I guess, the head manager or the bank manager, and she was able to open it up. When she saw what I was doing, it was like it clicked for her, and I didn't have any more problems after that. But before, I had came into the bank at least 3 or 4 times. I went to 2 different banks. So But eventually, but when I went with my husband, I mean, he got his open same day. I mean, no problemos. So I guess it just depends on, who you actually end up getting, and if you're able to convey um what you need to them. But
Wow. So
yeah,
it sounds like another power authority thing you're taking. So this would be like
right.
you're going in with some documents that are certified documents that they recognize for you to even do that account.
Yes, I had my actual social security number card, and I had my um passport ID, and I also um had um let me think, let me remember. My
Oh yeah, so this
Mhm.
would be your okay, so let's get into that layer because we're firstly just trying to deal with the revocable living trust as
Okay.
the sole prop. So we'll get into that later as you're getting into how to open the banking system up, which will be something new that most people are not privy to yet. But we first have to grasp this. What you just said is a mouthful. You just said you use only the social security number and the social security name, right?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, got you. Perfect. So anyway, I mean, this is wonderful to see why you actually are activating this sole proprietorship, because of having the revocable living trust instrument. So this goes right next to the next thing you'll do when you have the instrument in your hand, because you have to prove to yourself that you have a sole proprietorship. It tells you everything on the screen. So the IRS is saying, hey, this is what we say at you must do in our understanding. So you can't go in with your own understanding of what to do, right? So it goes right into the liabilities. It says the business has no existence apart from the owner. Its liabilities are all personal liabilities, and owner undertakes the risk of the business for all assets owned, whether or not used in the business. That's right. So everything that you own in the Social Security card. Does that make sense to anybody? Anybody have the grassness of the sole proprietorship so far based on some testimonials and us reading through the definition of a sole proprietorship? All right, so that's it. So let's go to some of our main things that we wanted to talk about today. We discussed a lot of Q&A today. Just wanted to jump into that Q&A session early so that we can get over all of our obstacles of what we need next. So what you need next, if you had to write it down in step one, first you need that certified copy of the revocable living trust in some form or way. Now, when you do this, this is going to give you the confidence. This is going to give you the way. This is going to give you everything that you need to get started with talking to those entities. The next thing you're going to deal with is taxes. So everything in this world is taxes. You're never going to get around taxes. So they never told you or taught you in school how to deal with taxes. As I understood this, I got out of school or whatever that was at the time. I began to look right into understanding how to use the software. So I don't understand taxes. I'm not a person that studies taxes all day. But what I did is I used the software. The software showed me how to use and maneuver through taxes a lot easier and a lot smoother. So I want to make sure that we all can get to that part. That's why we use university technicians for our tech support or technology company, because it shows us and gives us understanding of software. All right, so I'll put in our announcements. I'm going to go through that today. And we're going to read through a trustee power section to show that the entire time that you have this instrument in your hand, you've always had the trustee powers, and you also had an activated sole proprietorship. So today we will discuss how you are to use your living revocable trust instrument to take the power back from the state that you were born, the federal government that was given jurisdiction, and the local municipalities that are causing you to be under their authority. Wow. That's a mouthful right there. And I'm saying this because even myself, I'm still learning how to get myself fully under their authority, right? How does that work? Anybody have any thoughts to this? Because what we're saying is you're getting yourself fully from under the state's authority, the federal government's authority, the local municipalities' authority, and you are now operating under the main authority we were supposed to operate in the beginning, which was under the revocable living trust. All right, so that's where this is coming from. So you all can feel comfortable as you begin to file taxes. You got to have this fullness of authority. So the discussions will be centered around placing your living revocable trust on the county record and receiving certified copies to close out court cases, out of court cases with entities that are presumed to have power over your name. All right, so they are presumed to have power over your name because they felt comfortable to open up the court case. They felt comfortable to send the bill to us. So it's us that have to respond to them the way that we must respond to all these entities that are using our name. Now, I'm not saying I'm perfect at doing this myself. I'm still trying to figure out how to get a response out to every entity that sends something in the mail, which I'll get into some more strategies we'll talk about later on that method as well, where you start dealing with the post office. So there's ways to stop them in their tracks is if you begin to master the post office location, where you can stop them from sending things in your name. And then next will be your digital, will be your emails, and we'll talk about the emails as well. All right, so that's a good one as we begin to communicate. Does anybody have any thoughts or questions on the court cases? Because this is a big one that some of us may be dealing with. Doesn't matter what type of court case it is. We do have to deal with whatever we did. If it's an injured party, apologies, I won't be able to say we can fully say that the revocable living trust makes you invincible of some sort, that you're not able to be responsible for whatever things we've done that injured something or damaged something. But for anything else that's not damaging or injuring anything, we're able to say that the living revocable trust should and would cover you, at least in that perspective. So anyone have any thoughts to the court cases they want to share? Maybe they feel the revocable trust is supposed to help and answer with, we'll say, certain court cases. And I'll yield from the
I
mic for
have
now.
I have a question. I put a copy of the trust on the court case, right? But it was not the certified copy. So what I want to do, since you just brought it up, is resubmit it. My question is, resubmitting the official certified copy, will there be a difference?
That's a great question. I can't say. I don't know for sure what'll happen until you do that. So that is true. That is something that all of us must do again. So if that is a step that you're saying, yes, I would say make sure you place the certified copy on the record. Yeah.
So in the same token, is it kind of the same thing as far as the cover letter and just saying, hey, this name is a trustee that belongs to a trust, and you should update your records accordingly?
Correct. Absolutely. So I have something that is already saying that. That's what I'm saying. I'm even me myself. I can see that I need to do that same step that you're saying to give due notice more new, right? So give new notice by placing a certified copy of the document on the court case. So you're absolutely right. So that'll be the step that some of us may be on once you get it on the county record. Right, similar to this right here. So I wanted to get to the screen to give an example of what you're speaking of. Because what you're saying is now that
So
it's on the county record, we get the certified copy, right?
yeah, so the certified copy, is that something that I can make a copy of, or each certified copy have to come from the clerk? Is there like a
Yeah,
timestamp on it or
that's
something?
it. That's it. It got to come straight from the clerk, right? It has to be a official stamp. It has to be the original color. right?
Okay.
You
Okay.
see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You see, the document is real. That's when the document becomes real. Any questions on this? Because we have to all understand where this is coming from, where you're getting the document certified for. So someone say, why do I get the certified copy? What am I doing for? You can see that mine right here. This is my document. This is an unofficial document, but you can still see that it's on the county record. So I did the hardest part for some of us that are facing this battle. So get through the hardest part, which is to get it on the county record.
So sending copies of certified copies, have you had any experience with that? Or is it simply having copies, having it on the record that is most valuable?
Well, I mean, this is me just accessing, showing in that I have it, right?
Because
But
I got one certified copy and I'm curious, would it be best to get certified copies and send those to the IRS, the Social Security Administration, and the Attorney General? Or would it be all right? Would making copies of the certified copies and sending them, would that suffice?
no, it's not real. You're not living if you don't send in the certified copy. That's real, right?
Okay. So get more certified copies. Don't try to cut corners. That's all yeah.
Exactly. All of us.
Oh, can't cut those
You see,
corners.
you
Okay.
see what this tells me, right? See, let's say I try to just send them this document I have right here. It's on the county record, but what does it say right here? Unofficial document. Right? It's an unofficial document at this point until I get the certified copy.
I'm looking at the certified copy in my hand, and if I make copies of this and send them, would that not pass their test? Or
Look,
do they
I I
need?
I, I tried the same
Okay.
thing. Look at this.
Okay.
It says a certified copy, right?
Sure.
So I can prove to them, hey, I have a certified copy here. Here, I gave you a certified copy.
But they stamped it unofficial. Okay.
But it's still unofficial right here. And then it also has the date. They're like, hey, well, look, this is an old date. Why don't you give me a new one? You see, so this is where it goes into those 3 certified copies. Brother Vince is right on. He was telling us this, that you need that in order to even feel comfortable as you gave communication to these 3 entities, for these taxes. Does that
How
make sense,
many
anybody?
how many copies would you get? I mean, I'm going to go to the county and get more certified copies. Is it simply those 3 entities? You were also talking about the U.S. Treasury potentially sending it to them. I mean, if you were to just go get as many as you could, how many would you get going at it at your first time around?
Well, I mean, like you say, you get 3 of them, right? You got 3. Okay, so when you get 3 of them, this is going to give you the answer to what you're going to give to next. So you give one to the, like you said, Attorney General. Then we'll get into the IRS or the Treasury. So the IRS is the Treasury. So if you give it to the IRS, it is going to be given over to who? The Treasury.
And for
All
the
right.
court cases, would
But
a
that's
copy of a do we have to get certified copies for each court case and file them in with the court case at the top? I mean, I've got a lot of court cases. It's been a wild last few years standing as a man and not having this information. So,
right. Well, remember, it's a living revocable trust. So we got to go to that cover letter that Brother Raymond talked about earlier. He spoke of the what are you saying on that letter when you're in court?
so we don't even need to send these certified copies to them. We just need them to know that we have a living revocable trust and for them to update the records, and that's basically it.
Right. And you filed a certified copy on your court case with your
Okay.
documents.
So the
Right.
certified copy. So for every court case I have, I'm required to get a certified copy of the revocable living
Living trust. That's right.
document. So if I've
That's right.
got, I mean, literally, I've been um, um, had the plate on my front. I had the notice. I mean, I a man, I'm whole, all present and accounted for from fertilization to last breath. And I mean, I've done the DOT plates. I've not traveled, or I've only traveled. done so many things. I've spoken in front of county commissioners and all of this stuff. So it's not that I don't have the courage to do it. It's just, what do I have to do? And there's probably about, I mean, I look at these court cases with a divorce and unfortunately, a woman who chose to utilize the legal system in order to amass and railroad, um, because of whatever choices that she wanted to make, and that system was available, and she leveraged it. So for 3 years, I've had a massive amount of stuff that potentially I could be in court, or I'm sorry, in federal jail, prison for like the next 20 years or whatever. And it's wild to go, wow, there's only in that there's 8 or 15 different cases. I mean, with the sheriffs and the police and the county and the state, would you suggest get a certified copy for, I mean, there's got to be 20 in that state alone, and then another state for, I had my motorcycle
No, no,
stolen.
no,
I had
no, no,
my
no.
car stolen.
You only said
Okay.
3 entities. You're thinking about everybody. You're thinking, oh, I got to give a certified copy to 20 people. No, 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 no,
Okay,
no,
so
no,
what do
no,
we
no.
file with do we do anything with the clerk of the court? I mean, that's
That's
my
it. This
question.
this is the clerk of the court. You've already given your certified copy, right, to the county recorder, correct? That's
Mm-hmm.
why we're going through these steps slowly. We went over the steps. These are the highest steps that one should already have. Is the document on the county record, right? So once it's on the county record, I feel comfortable to do my taxes. Okay. Now, if I'm taking power back from them, which is what we're speaking of, I'm taking power back from the state attorney's office or the attorney general, then I need to give them notice of a certified copy of my revocable living trust, like the brother said, also my birth certificate and my driver's license. All right, so this is the driver's license. We'll talk about that in the later calls. As we're saying, these are all now the property that you are now owning in your name. Right. So the state is saying that you're their property because you got their property in your hand and you're not giving it over. Therefore, you're not giving it over. It's in your hands at the time. We're going to take you because you have our property and you're not properly claiming the property the right way, which will say this is part of the revocable living trust, that we've already done that with our Schedule A. As some will say that where did this come from in Schedule A? This is why we go through our trust this certain way. And we're saying we have already conveyed and delivered all the property over to the living trust. So this goes right into this part right here. We say all the rights on the title and the interest and the cars. So if the police pull over the car, they're not pulling me over anymore because they're pulling over the trust. And then they're just going to let the car go. Right? Think of that, the car go. They're going to let the car go. So that is what they're doing. They're not thinking about you. They're thinking about the vessel that you're traveling in. And I'm saying this because some of us have to deal with plates. Yes, you need to use the plates that the state is giving you in the name of the revocable living trust. So it gets back into the billers, which we'll talk about this later because I can't go into all of your examples today because we have to get to why the plates should be in the name of the revocable living trust at the DMV. Because I'm moving myself out of that name that I was using that was on that social security card. And even if I'm still using that name on a social security card, I need to put revocable living trust. RVOCLIVTR if you need to fit it on the EIN. Just for those who are using the same name. Make sure you fit in the LIV. I'm going to say RVOCLIVTR. Go ahead. We got another thought on the mic. I can't see anybody's faces right now. All right, if we couldn't hear anybody. So this is where you are now. You've given everything over to the name of the trust. As you see, the grantor presently owns the property that is described in Schedule A. Grantor wishes and ensures that this property and any income derived from this property is managed and eventually distributed according to the following terms. Your entire purpose is here. Your entire business, they say your business purpose is here. Everything is already in correct order. So if you all read through this trust, it goes through everything in detail of every party that you're dealing with and how you're going to be utilizing everything. I won't be able to go through all this now, but I'm just giving you some examples of how this looks once you have this instrument in your hand. And this is a certified copy. Let's say you don't even give them the cover letter. Let's say you just give them the document, certified copy by itself. You still can't even mess up, right? Because then you can explain it next time, like, well, what is this about? Oh, this is about me being the trustee of the living revocable trust. That's where you'll be your answer if they ask you, what is this about? Do we have the answers to this? Anybody have any questions on this? Because you have to feel and know that you're now the trustee of a living revocable trust. My wife, she's the trustee of my revocable living trust because I brought her in as a trustee. And you're going to use the maiden names for the women. For those who are married, this is very important for you. Make sure you use the maiden name that's on the birth certificate because they'll try to take you away from the husband by naming you in your old name. So you got to make sure you cover that name too for the women who are married or who also have the maiden name. So that may be an example for some of us who are dealing with this trust as well, that you'll have a trust for your partner and which is your wife, and you'll also have your own revocable living trust in your name as well. Why is it glitching? We can see over here.
With the plates that are put in the revocable living trust, are those Z plates or zero plates or?
No, they're regular plates. It's just when they run the plate, it's going to be in the name of your revocable trust.
So there's still the same registration. It's simply just in the trust name. Is that correct?
Right? That is correct. You got it.
And then we just fill out the schedule, or we do the 1099 or we do the 1041 and put that as an expense, as a trust expense.
That's right. But we
Yes
don't
or
use
no?
trusted. We don't use Schedule C on the 1041. We just use
Yeah,
fiduciary fees.
I messed that one up. But so I'm seeing it. It's all getting pretty fun. Once we once we send the certified copy of this to the Attorney General, how fast do those cases fall off, or what would we expect to see, or what have others seen from that process? I'm just curious.
Right. So there's multiple steps after that. Like I say, you've given
Okay,
notice, but you now have to finish everything. So for only this call, we can only get into what you need first, just to even
great.
face them.
Okay.
You got to have the revocable trust on the county record. It's for those who are still, even if it's in another state or another county, it doesn't matter. This works worldwide. This works in all 50 states. So if you have a case somewhere else, this same trust will work for any state. So you get a certified copy of the same trust and you send it to that state that has a case. All right. So anybody have questions on that part? Because it may be a different state, it may be a different location, and you still need to prove that you're the trustee of a revocable living trust.
Is it required to be recorded in that state, in a county in that state, or would a copy from out of state work when you send it to the Attorney General?
It doesn't mean it's a requirement as long as it's on the county record. Doesn't matter what county record it's on, as long as it's in one of the 50 states of the United States of America, the continental United States of America. You qualify for that trust, even if it's in Alaska. If you file the trust on the county record in Alaska, it qualifies for every state. It'll qualify for Florida.
Well, in a situation I was in in Oregon that was outrageous, probably I think it was $105 if it had the word notice on it. And it was every page, it was an additional $5. If somebody were in that situation and they hadn't mastered or gotten their finances in order, I mean, luckily I live in a place where it's $40 and it's great, but what are some other options or some technologies that you would recommend? No.
Well, you have to sell. You have to sell to your soul. We had a call about your soul banking and your services or your sole proprietor. But we can't get into that this week because we first have to understand our authority and power that we're taking back from the state first. So you have to feel like the power is actually being taken. That's the first step. So all this knowledge and information, we can have the docs just for those who have the docs. I had the docs for like 3-4 years. I wasn't using them. I didn't know what I had. I had the doc. But then when I started using it, things started to change. Just for those who are new to this. So you got to use the doc, which I'll say the doc for that is your revocable living trust instrument.
So what I'm saying is I'm going to be helping some folks up in Oregon, and they're going to be filing, and it might be $200 or whatever to get that filed, but where they are financially in order to make those first steps. Is there an out of Oregon option that they can do? Can I file it for them here in Utah, or how does that look?
No, no. This is how this works. You have to love yourself in order to love your neighbor. There's no way you can love your neighbor first before you love yourself. So what that means first is that we have to do this ourselves first to make it work for us in order for it to work for other people. There's no way we can make it work for other people without first making it work for ourselves. So that's very important. The living revocable trust is a straight route. It's a straight route for everyone. You all have to figure it out together by yourself. Everyone has to do this on their own. And when I say this, it's like you're still on the trail, you're walking, but you're walking by yourself. Is what this is about. So I want to give that as an advice for those who are trying to help a lot of people. Just make sure making sure you help yourself get through all the steps first so that then you can easily explain it to other people as they go. That's why we say there's studies right now. We're all studying. Okay, so these are things that we'll think about right here. I'll go into what another part that we may have to jump into since we're in our time. We're at 7:46. So let's go to just the part about the county recorder, which we understand court cases are very important. But does anybody else have any type of court cases they want to speak on that they may feel that the trust hasn't got the court case to go away? Let's say that we're still working on the court case and we're working with the trust and we want to see how to make this court case go away as we begin to use this trust. Is anybody on the call for the last year or so or some months that want to share their situation of where you think the court case is dealing with? All right, so no problem, no problem. I know court cases get kind of personal. That's why we say don't take these things personal, you all. Once we get to the trust side, this all becomes business. And that's what I had to learn too after a certain point. Once I got to that point of learning that it was just business, this allowed me to handle things a lot more easier. And I started to look at myself as the trustee of the trust. As we see that you are now the one that's in charge, you're the one that's the authority. That's why we have to give you this authority first before you feel like you can do all these taxes and you claim all these credits back. Because you see, I've noticed I'm not telling you to claim credits back yet, because if you don't feel comfortable facing these basic situations, then you probably won't feel comfortable if you get a large amount of credits. So it's giving you all this example that the Social Security card is where most of all the credits are actually being stored and held. So I know that it's difficult to accept, but you do have to access the Social Security card. All right, so you are the temple that they're talking about. It says your body is the temple. So that means your name is important. Your name is worth more than silver and gold. We understood that. Went over that today. We talked about that biblical principle. We also showed how you have to use the 1040. You have to use the Social Security card to file the taxes on the 1040. Correct? So all these are here, and this is the same card that was given to us when we were babes. So I wanted to get into this part to kind of close us out for this week, to kind of make sure we're studying and understanding why taxes is your next thing to focus on, your finances is your next thing, your household, everything that you need to keep yourself going has to be put in order so that you can feel comfortable to even get the funds back which will say that you'll receive later on from taxes. Because this is really about tax returns. They never said that you owe taxes, but we all believe that we did. We made up in our minds that we owe some taxes, right? But you're supposed to receive a tax return if you read the document correctly. It says it at the top. It says tax return. All right, so that's important that I got into this as well to show you this example because I like to show diagrams to what we're saying because some of this may not make sense until you actually remember and you see it. Of course, you never got this social card by yourself. It was our mom. You know, mom and dad, who was babies, we got the social card. You know, I don't know where it came from. You don't either. None of us do, but you got to deal with it. So don't run from the Social Security Administration, the Social Security card. We had a brother, he has given us a phenomenal testimony earlier today, talking about how he faced the Social Security Administration. You know, these are the same steps that someone say, what do I do next with that certified copy of that revocable living trust? Well, you need to deal with that Social Security Administration. All right, so this is important that we're seeing these steps and how this looks to you. If you feel like you want to do it in person, yes, you can make a hand delivery in person to these entities if you choose to do it that way. But some of these entities, I don't think they work. The Attorney General doesn't let you hand deliver. I don't know for sure. But we'll check it out. We'll see if they allow you to walk it in and give it to their security desk or something. I don't know. So just do your research, you all. Make sure these steps are actually seen as something that you believe that you can do. And they are government entities. They are government offices. Okay. So any questions or thoughts about the Social Security card as you being able to communicate through this card as well? Okay, so let's go to our next question, and then we'll try to close out on a lot of the steps and a lot of the things that you're going to need to have this authority. As we said, one of the sisters, and they also went into a testimonial speaking of how she only used her Social Security card. So using just the identification card, the Social Security card, and the business or the trust instrument entity will create a business communication with your entities every time you do this. So what is needed to activate my power and authorization / authority? So somebody may ask this question, what is needed? So the answer to this question, and this power and authority to access my personal Social Security trust account. So the answer to this question is a sole proprietor and a Schedule C. That's going to get you access to your personal Social Security trust account. Next question, why is it not easily accessed without a sole proprietor account in my Social Security number? The answer is because the IRS will scan you and determine if you're an individual. Wow. Interesting. So the IRS will scan your account and they will determine if you still have things on the individual side. So they see the system through the banking system, which we'll get into in our later calls when you do your taxes, that you're looking to come out of the individual side and you move yourself over to the business side. But you're using the same Social Security card to do this. Next question is, why do I come out of the banking system? Best known today as the Federal Reserve System or Federal Reserve or Federal Notes. Because of the 1933 bank crash. So back in 1933, there was a bank crash, which led to 1971 with Richard Nixon. So you all need to know that history. This is a amazing situation that we dealt with in the United States of America. So you need to know those two different big events of banking history. 1933 bank crash and 1971 of Richard Nixon. Next question is why your sole proprietor is poor and your trusts are poor until you fund them. There we go. So you have to fund the trust. And the easiest way to fund these trusts, we found out, and give you all a couple of diagrams since I have this pulled up. some of the treasury check diagrams that show you how to fund the trust. So let's go to that example. Let's say I received a treasury check. So let's get to my example just to kind of give us the good things before we close out for this week. This is an old check that came out. As you can see, the date that matches the time that I was filing my taxes in 2019. So when I filed the taxes for a noble private lender, you can see that my name is there as a TTEE, the trustee. So that's the important part. You see that TTEE, that is giving you the name of the trustee. So the trustee will sign and receive the checks on behalf of the revocable living trust. As you can see, the treasury seal and all these different things, these are official checks. As you can see, this is official, where you receive this in the mail. They don't send it electronically on the 1041 side. So I received this on the 1041 side. Once you receive this check on the 1041 side, you now have to do something next. You two ways you can do this. You can either cash the check out in cash, if you can figure out how to cash this with minimal security. This is a good way of doing this. If you don't know how to cash this out, which we tell people, your best answer is to get that sole proprietor bank account that we see some of our people have went into to talk about the banking course, which we're not able to talk about the banking course too much, but this is what you'll get. As to prove you're on the banking side, you'll have a business debit card everywhere you go. So all of your cards should say business on them. You shouldn't have a card that says personal. This will move you out of the name of the personal side of the social security card. Any questions on this part right here? So it goes right into Brother Vince was talking about. One way that it looks on the personal side, it has the name of the revocable living trust. But to get you fully out of the personal side, you will want to have the sole proprietor. Any questions or thoughts to this banking side? In fullness, this is what you'll need to get and maneuver in their system. So if you don't have this business debit card, you won't be able to maneuver in their system because you have to use cash. You have to use gift cards, things of that sort.
Yes, good evening, Brother Wallace. This is 100 Eyes.
Thank you,
My
brother.
my question is in regards to when we set up the sole proprietorship for the trust, right? Do we need to put the ad in the paper the way we did for our names? And is there any other steps that we need to do before we open up the sole proprietorship for the actual trust? And I'll land my plane.
Right. So short answer is no. What happens is if you just communicate through the revocable living trust, the way of receiving the funds will be just in the name of the trust. I guess where I'm trying to answer the question where you trying to realize what you're saying. Can you repeat that last part so I can kind of clear get an answer to what you mean by the last part of the newspaper? So why is the newspaper involved with I guess the trust right now? So are you speaking of your name in the newspaper, or are you speaking of the trust in the newspaper?
Yeah, the trust. It's been a while since I did the process, so I'm just trying to remember the steps that I did before I opened up the sole proprietorship. But I do recall you stating that we would do the same process that we did with using our name. We would do the same process with the trust. It's just that we would use, of course, the EIN instead of the Social Security number for the sole proprietorship for the trust. And I was just curious to if there was any steps to do before opening up the sole proprietorship for the trust, because I know there were some steps that we did before opening up the sole proprietorship with our names. So it's been a while, so I was just curious to verify if I missed something.
No, you're just a little ahead of the I see what you're speaking of now. You're speaking of specifically the banking course that we're speaking of, where you do the publication in the newspaper with the
Right.
name, things of that sort. So yes, that'll be
Right.
a little later once we get into the derivatives and claiming the credits off of all of those different names that you have in the banking system. Um, that is something
Yeah.
different. That's not the same notice, but that can be utilized as a good notice too, to give with your revocable living trust that is certified copy. Let's say you done that part, but we're
Hmm.
going through only the revocable trust course for those who are entry level, who just got
Okay.
started. That makes sense?
Gotcha. Absolutely. Thank you. I'll land my plane.
No worries, no worries. So that will be part of our banking, which will get into our more, we'll say not advanced, but just next courses. All right. So I hope that helps with that part. So this goes into the banking course as well, where one will start off if you have this card, this is your communication. We understand if you're going to use their banking system, you got to have a business card to communicate in their banking system. If you're going to use the trust by itself, you can just use cash. You can just pay for things in cash. You can get gift cards. We figured out maneuvers that I had to figure out myself too. If I was living out here and I didn't want to use the banking system, you can make it happen. So if I can do it, you can do it. Anybody had lived this way without the bank for years, you can figure out a way to live without the bank. They have secured debit cards out here. They have secured credit cards. You can figure out a way to secure those things with our method of the post office money order method. All right, so there's always that you can figure out a way to just live through the revocable living trust. So any questions on this? Where some would say, how do I deal with paying my bills? How do I deal with I can't get a bank account? What if I don't have the bank account? Well, you still can maneuver and communicate without the banking system, which we'll get into that a little bit later, where that doesn't fully mean that you're not fully updated in their system just because you don't have a bank account, which will say that fully updates you in their system. If you really wanted to make it easy for yourselves, we'll talk about this later since due to our time, it's about 8 o'clock. We'll talk about the Treasury Direct account, which we'll speak on how that goes right into the Treasury, where you'll be able to create a revocable, the EIN will create a Treasury Direct account. So just for due sakes of our time, we don't want to get through too much because it may be too much information for our minds to get through the week. But the main goal of this week was to get you to see how important it is for you to become the one in charge of the revocable living trust. Another word that we can use that give you confidence on knowing that you are in charge by having that document, that certified copy, and we'll be closing ourselves out for this week too with this last part, is a fiduciary. So a fiduciary is very important for you to remember this word for your notes. If you're writing notes or taking note, is you're actually now becoming a fiduciary. So your social security card and you as a sole proprietor has also taken upon a position when you're working with the revocable living trust as a fiduciary. So I'm going to read this to make sure you all see the words that I'm using is what the IRS is using. I didn't even realize I was saying the same thing similar to what the IRS was saying right here. So it says a fiduciary is any person in a position of confidence. Wow. This is a position of confidence. So you are in a position of confidence, acting on behalf of any other person. Wow. So that's going right into your name, acting on behalf of your social security card person, acting on behalf of your revocable living trust EIN person, acting on behalf of any other trust persons, and so on. It could be your offspring. You can act on behalf of your offspring if you move them into your trust, which we'll get into these layers of why the revocable trust instrument is so important and has so many things that's dealing with your power. Next, right here, it says a fiduciary assumes the powers. That goes right into what the assume is right here. The assuming power assumes the powers, rights, duties, and privileges of the person or entity on whose behalf he or she is acting. Wow. Look at that. So that social security card, you assume all those powers, those rights, duties, and privileges of the person or entity on whose behalf he or she is acting. This gets right into our fiduciary forms that we'll talk about a little bit later. Examples of fiduciaries, and I went into this layer over and over again to make sure that you see where you should feel confidence of this as well when you have that instrument. So let's go right into that. It says including administrators. So you can see why the administrators of the Social Security Administration feels confident of using your money and using your benefits because they are administrators of your Social Security card. Conservators has certain court cases that's put on your Social Security card. They're able to take as conservators. Designees goes into something as well. Executors. Look at that. Executors of your Social Security card goes into some of those cases. Guardians. Look at that. Guardians of your Social Security card. Receivers. Receiving funds. Receivers. So all they receive is this money off of your Social Security card. Next is the one that we're focused on, is what we're doing now, which we're taking upon this power. Trustees of a trust. That's right. So when you tell them in court, this isn't something that I made up. This is what the IRS says to say. Hey, I'm a trustee of a revocable living trust. Here's my trust instrument. I'm a fiduciary. Who's the fiduciary of this trust? I am. I am the fiduciary. That's what I would say to these. I'll say that to the entity that's asking the question. So the trustees of a trust is what the answer that we want to focus on for tonight as we close out for what the fiduciary is doing. As you see, the fiduciary is the one acting in confidence of the trust. You are going to be the revocable living trust trustee. And that's what this document is telling you that you're doing. Trustees in bankruptcy, personal representatives, look at that, lawyers or attorneys, they take over your case. Once you go to the bar association, which we see that it could be a public defender. Let's say you are in jail and you get first appearance. We know that personal representatives, the PRs, are the people that take over your Social Security card trust as well, which we'll see why they have the authority to file those tax returns. And they do it just for that season or that quarter, and then the taxes don't show up on your tax transcript. So some of us will say, why don't the lawyers things filed for are on the tax transcript? Because it's not going to be seen because they're the personal representatives for you now. So I'm giving you all layers of how this is very powerful to even to the first appearances as well, the PRs. Persons in possession of property of a decedent's estate. Wow. Or debtors in possession of assets in any bankruptcy proceeding by order of the court. All right, so that is it for fiduciaries, where they're able to get into that. I won't get into more of these things right here, speaking of these types of entities, but today what you wanted to realize today is your power that you're taking back from the state. This is your power that you're taking back from the Social Security Administration. Power you're taking back from the courthouse. All right, so I hope that helps for this week as we close out from any comments, questions, or shares. I want to give you all this last 10 minutes to kind of ask any questions about what we spoke about today as taking the power back. Some of the documents you may need to feel confident of taking the power back, how to use those documents, and the continuation of your conclusion. So I yield from the mic for now, and I give anyone a chance to speak on where you may be dealing with the next step, and we may be able to close out from that convo from there. Thank you.
I just had a question regarding um being an administrator of a probate case. I was wondering what other things can I claim on my 1099-B other than the what do you call it? The bond.
All right, so I guess to answer your question, you're speaking of a court case. There is I guess, an approach you must do to that court case that shows the total amount. So we don't know until you pull that information from the court case.
Okay, so it has to be finished or uh
Well,
like where do I get
it could be any time. You just have to know, even if the case is closed, we found out later on that that goes into your they'll say QSIPs. They'll say
Mhm.
somebody's able to find out the QSIP information on the case. The other route
Okay.
that we do without having the QSIP is by simply filing the case number as the court on the tax return, such as
Mm-hmm.
the tax forms. I'm sorry.
Mm,
So you type your case number there on the
okay.
script on the description. We'll say some of the descriptions there, description box. You will put the case number just for those who are firstly working into the 1099s.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering if it's just the bond amount or can you add all the other numbers
I don't know.
that
That's why you got to find out numbers of where it starts. So find out
right,
wherever the number is, and it has to be on paper somewhere where it shows a number to the case, how much the case is worth or how much the case costs.
right. Okay. Thank you.
Perfect, perfect. So that could be for any of our situation. It could be charges. It could be what it says. These are the charges, right, for the case. And I'll use myself as an example, since that is something that some may not have talked about for the cases. And I'll go into what I was looking up for myself. And I have so many charges that was for a case that I'm still dealing with right now. And I'm closing it out because I'm actually learning that I was supposed to liquidate the case. And I've already liquidated some of it, but I didn't do it correctly the first time. So all these charges they were able to place on my record until I take it off, right? These are the charges. This goes into any of our situation with the county clerk, and you have to communicate with your county clerk. This is where all the cases are going to go off. You got to write them directly and say, hey, I need these cases removed, or I have to go ahead and close these cases out. I know it sounds too fast, but that's the way it's supposed to go. It's supposed to be one time you speak to them and one time, and this through the revocable living trust, and they updating things. But it's all about how we approach it. And you got to be
Are
ready
we
when you do it.
are we filing a 10, is it a 1099A or a 1099C to cancel it or what
No, well,
10?
no, you don't do a 1099A um, with the situation that you're dealing with the B. You're going to be dealing with the B, right? Because if you say cancel, that means that you're not going to be able to get your beneficial interest from the case. If you cancel the case, this basically goes to cancellation of you're just zero. You're just zeroing out everything.
Right. I couldn't think of any reason why it would. I just wanted to make sure that it was only the 1099B. Thank you.
Correct. Yes, we're only saying that you should use the 1099B because you're paying the debt. You're not evading the debt. You're not saying, hey, I need you to get, I don't have the money or anything. You want to actually say that you are looking to pay the debt. Let's say one does the 1099C. You also have to go back and do a 1099B. So let's say I did the 1099C anyway, right? Or I did the 1099C already. You can also go back. You can also file a 1099B. So that helps for all of us to get a lot of the forms done because it's a lot of work and you have to communicate. So each case, if you break it down, you see all those. I mean, mine just was under one case. It just had charges. So it's two cases, but it was just multiple charges under the two cases. So I had to basically add them all up under that one case. So I'm able to put a certain number because we actually have in Florida where we have a OPPA I got from one of our team members. He tells us about the OPPA. I don't know if I have the right acronym or whatever, but it tells you the exact costs or charges for each of your court cases, a criminal case. So these things are very important for you all to actually see that this is real time communication that you're supposed to do with these clerks. They're also called the comptrollers too. That's why they see that word and comptroller. We see clerk most of the time, but we don't know that the comptroller is also the position of the same person. Then we got to look into what that is. What is a comptroller? What is that? What is a comptroller? What do they do? All right. So if there's no more thoughts, questions, or shares, I hope that helps for this week. Let's go into whatever we need to go for getting that revocable living trust and communicating with that instrument, and we'll close out from here. Thank you all. If there's no more thoughts, questions, or shares, we'll communicate next week, and we'll try to get into the banking system and how to utilize that with the trust once you get the banking system open as well. Peace, prosperity, joy.
Thank you.